It's quite common for a video game that comes out and gets received well by the players will most likely be releasing a sequel later down the line. We will soon see games like The Shadow of War and The Last of Us 2. Both games saw such high praise and left a hard impact on players even long after they played it. Today there are a countless amount of franchises in the video game industry. Some have been around for decades, and you might wonder, what is it about each individual franchise that keeps them standing? The simple answer is that every single one offers their unique style, world and charm, that the players identify from it. But then there's the risk of change to the identity that developers may introduce in their future games. Look at games like Halo, Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed. All three of those games have a current player count that is significantly lower when you compare them to their peaks. As for the Battlefield franchise, the latest entry, Battlefield 1, has become the best selling in that franchise, recently reaching over 21 million sales, surpassing Battlefield 3's record of 17 million. Despite that, I personally don't think that Battlefield 1 is the best Battlefield game, and we've heard all the common complaints, like lack of content, poorly spaced out DLC releases, lack of variety in customization, etc. But having gone back and played some of the recent Battlefields, I've noticed quite a few things that DICE may have dropped the ball on with Battlefield 1, and having looked into it a bit more, I find them to be quite severe problems, and I hope in the future they will get it right. So in this video, as the title suggests, what is Battlefield 1's biggest problem that isn't getting enough discussion? If you were to look at every single main entry in the Battlefield franchise, which one would you say has the easiest accessibility? You can think about it for a minute, but I would definitely say it's Battlefield 1. Now that's not to say it's a bad thing having a game with easy accessibility, but if it wasn't quite known for that 5 years ago, then that's a topic to discuss. For a game like Battlefield, there needs to be a good amount of depth for players to sink into, if developers want them to stay around. And unfortunately in Battlefield 1, there is some design choices that DICE have made that may have made the game's depth a little more shallow. The first one that comes to mind is the incompetent, annoying and rather cheap aim assist mechanic in the game. This mechanic has made getting kills a whole lot easier and simply taken out the satisfaction of getting them. It has a much bigger effect on snipers and shotguns, and that's not how kills in Battlefield should feel like. They should feel more rewarding and giving us that sense of achievement for pulling them off. Previous Battlefield games have never offered to hold your hand through matches, but in Battlefield 1, at least with the aim assist on, does somewhat feel that way. The game is almost playing itself for you. All you have to worry about is simply seeing someone before they see you, and just by saying that, that dangerously sounds like Call of Duty. Now of course, you do have the option to switch it off, but the problem is that makes the experience even more frustrating. You are then putting yourself at a disadvantage against all other players. I would say 90% of players on Battlefield 1, if not more, do not care about that level of options. All they'll care about is their sensitivity and control layout. That's it. For me, aim assist simply rips out the more strategic approach and feels more like a slot machine, and at that point I'm not so sure I'm convinced that I'm playing a Battlefield game. Now the second issue I want to talk about is weapon balance. In previous Battlefield games there has always been a wide variety of weapons to choose from, and whilst the stats may say that there's better guns than others, you could still respectfully perform well with any gun. Didn't matter if it was a DMR, carbine or an assault rifle. As long as you made the right calls you would have no trouble working your way up the scoreboard. In Battlefield 1, what do you often see? Hellregals, Hellregals, and more Hellregals. You thought the M16 in Battlefield 3 was overused? This one is 1,000 times worse. There is no reason to run with any other gun in the assault class, and Battlefield again should not go down that path of having one or two specific weapons that are significantly better than the others. And just for DICE to take the absolute piss out of the players was by giving us this certain quote-unquote weapon called the Calibri. So now they're allowing us to use weapons that pretty much have no use at all. It's just so inconsistent on their behalf to not be providing the players with an even playing field. And the third problem I want to talk about is the map design. Battlefield 1 probably has one of the worst collection of vanilla maps I've ever known the franchise to have. Not to say that the maps are bad, but they do fall short to previous titles. hardly any of them have that large, open, all-out warfare layout. Many of them are much more linear and all seem to have those choke points where a lot of the action is happening in those specific areas of the map and nowhere else. On a map like Giant Shadow, you're probably going to find yourself 80% of the time fighting between the C and D flag, and that's it. Or if you're playing operations on Monte Grappa, all the defenders need to do is hide in the underground bunkers and hold off the 2 entries and boom, they've won. You know that saying that us Battlefield players have, that we don't have kill streaks because we are the kill streak? In previous Battlefields that was the case. You want to go attack an objective? Then go do it. Only a mistake can pull you down. But in Battlefield 1, you're simply already pulled down. Not because of another squad that's thinking ahead of you, but more of the map design and how poorly they can be laid out. So while you're fighting enemy players in a match, you're also at the same time fighting DICE's inconsistency. And that's not to mention the new specializations that are coming in the new DLC. I say specializations very sarcastically, because from looking at them and how they're going to perform, I would much rather prefer the word perks, because that's what they feel like. There is one perk for the medics, and I shit you not, it's called Concealed Rescue, and what it basically does is that if a teammate within 20 meters of you dies, they will drop a smoke grenade on their body to give you the cover so you can go revive them. So it's basically like that Mortardom perk from Call of Duty 4, only instead of having a slot machine chance of getting killed by it, here in Battlefield 1, you're not going to be able to see anything around that area for a short period of time. Could you imagine that thing playing out on a map like Fort de Vaux? Jesus. This perk better not make it into the full game, and if it does, I hope there will be some sort of tweak to it. My suggestion would be is that it can only work if that player who died actually had a smoke grenade equipped. So having gone over all those issues, I can probably come up with a pretty clear conclusion that Battlefield 1 is simply the most casual game in the franchise. And because the franchise isn't known for it, we have a problem. We've seen other popular franchises sacrifice their formula with the expectation of bringing in new ones, but also still keeping the satisfaction of their hardcore fans. And did they work? No. You know why so many people hated Halo 4? Because they abandoned the original Halo formula and made it casual. Why did so many of us hate Hardline? Despite the fact it was totally unnecessary of a game, it toned down the skill rating and made it feel more casual. Why did so many of us get bored with Star Wars Battlefront so quickly? You've already said it for me. Because it was too shit and casual. For me, I believe the somewhat casual experience that Battlefield 1 offers should be looked at as being a big potential reason for the massive decline in player count. And from what I've seen, not enough people are speaking out about it. It should be noted that these mechanics and design issues that I've just talked about in this video were implemented by the developers to simplify the experience, so new players don't really see it as much as a massive learning curve, so instinctively they're more likely to buy the game. When players take a break from a certain game, when they come back, it can be hard for them to retrain their brains to how the game operates, and having the accessibility at a much easier level will speed up the process. So now that Battlefield 1 is the best selling in the franchise, does that now mean where DICE will now set the standard for its gameplay and never look back on Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 or even further back? It sounds bad, but that's what developers and publishers do. They always look onward for not giving their hardcore fans another fully immersive experience, but more of toning down the things that fans loved about the previous games so that new players can come in and feel more confident in buying it. And I find that really sad. Battlefield 1's new DLC coming out does have a map that seems to finally be delivering on that true Battlefield style that we've missed from this game for so long. And also we're going to get news on the competitive mode that's probably coming to the game soon at Gamescom next week. So there is hope for the future, but I do hope that this level of casualness that Battlefield 1 has is where the line gets drawn for DICE. As always though guys, thank you for watching. If you guys have an opinion on this matter, be sure to share them down in the comments and give this video a rating if you find it necessary. And be sure to subscribe for more future content on this channel. Thank you very much, take care of yourselves, have a good one, bye.